I don't know. There's something weirdly attractive about the idea that somebody thinks they're better than everybody else.
So be a D-bag. Got it.
Yeah, that's
You checked that off a long time ago, Joel.
So thank you all so much for being here with us. I'm here with the cousins, and we're going to have a podcast about stuff and things.
Stuff and
Not
With
bad.
that,
That's not bad.
I'm going to hand it over to Dillon to
better than
introduce our
Dillon's.
topic for the night.
It probably was better. Stuff and Things sounds like an Eggs and Things spinoff. It's just a place you go.
You know,
to
stuffing
eat.
things in a turkey.
Ventura jokes.
But no, thank you, Maureen, for the introduction. As you can tell, Maureen is our guest this week. Luke is out this week, busy probably doing Halloween stuff. As you know, he's got a little kid. He's got little stuff to do with a kid. But this is pretty cool because Maureen has something that we don't have: intelligence.
You could have said a lot of things, Dan.
I would
I'm glad
say
you said
no.
intelligence.
Like,
You
going in an
guys just
interesting direction
really
now.
had to go there, didn't you?
You kept it PG-13.
I feel like you
Yes.
went there.
No, we've known Maureen for a long time now. We've known you for over 10 years now, Maureen? Met you back in VC. Joel and I used to work at the old video store back in the day. And so we have a long history together. And matter of fact, Maureen actually just got married this year. And she is now a Mrs. What's it like to live with a man? We don't know what that's like.
It's not as bad as I would have expected it to be.
In what way?
In the sense of, I think that there's a lot of sensationalism about the differences and, the little annoyances and all these little things. And in fact, I haven't really run into a ton of those things. In part because David in particular is a lot neater than I am. So it's probably more challenging for him than it is for me. But yeah, so far, so good.
All right. Well, I think obviously we want to talk about the differences between men and women. So what do you think, Maureen, in your opinion, what do you think the advantages are of being a woman? Because I've actually asked a lot of women this because there's obviously a lot of advantages men have. I mean, we're just bigger, stronger, and better at most everything. But what do you think women have as far as an advantage? Of course, I'm being sarcastic here. I don't really believe that. But in your opinion, what do you think is something that is an advantage for women?
So I think that one thing is there's a lot less pressure, and for better or worse, there's a lot less pressure to save face emotionally and intellectually as a woman. I think you can be a little bit more vulnerable and honest without kind of challenging the social norms.
Social norm. It's like,
You just plugged my
That
movie.
little That's where you pop up the little click here for more information.
How did you prepare, Dylan? Say that.
This was all just one big elaborate discussion to get us to social norm.
2016 social norm.
I'm an affiliate.
Exactly. Well, I think that when I think about men and women, I obviously see that there's a lot of things. Like if I could choose to be a guy or girl, I'd obviously choose to be a guy every time. I just see that there's always just everything seems like it's way easier for us in so many ways. It seems like women have it a lot harder, especially in the dating world. I think the dating world, I don't envy women at all in that area. And one of the things I always ask women is that I do not understand what women find attractive about men. What is it? When I look at Cody, I just go, this guy is disgusting. He drives me crazy. He's so hideous.
Well, I think most women think that too.
I haven't met one yet.
Yeah, but it's obvious for guys on why they're attracted to women is because women are just naturally more elegant and beautiful. They're more soft-spoken. They're probably easier to get along with. The only thing guys really have going for them is a sense of humor, but I feel like that's more of an evolutionary reaction to mating. They kind of had to do that, or else they're just no chance ever. But other than that, they're not attractive. They're ugly. They smell. They stink. And it's just like, what do women find them? What is it so appealing about them?
Well, I mean, I feel like there's a few different approaches to that. You could go kind of like the standard, like, sense of evolutionary approach. And I think that in that context, the very things that you are saying would make men unattractive would make them extremely attractive as like a mate from a survival perspective, right?
Just getting deep.
But I think that it's deep. I think it's deeper than that. I obviously think that there's something like inherently attractive about difference and other. Mm-hmm. There's a natural curiosity about something or someone that's different than you. And in our society, you maybe see some resistance to that in many contexts, but in the context of like attraction, personal, emotional, sexual, all those things, there's something about otherness and difference that's intriguing. And so I think that in the very fact of being as different as you are as men is attractive and interesting.
Is there something weird that you shouldn't be attracted to it, but just something strange that attracts you to men that's like, why am I attracted to this kind of thing?
Me personally or women in general?
Yeah. Well, yeah, you personally.
I mean, I think that, like, you know, probably the sort of standard is like the bad boy or like the thing. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's like, why would you be drawn to somebody who's sort of like a D-bag? And the fact is, because there's something about the fact that they think they're so great, it's either that you want to prove them wrong. I don't know. There's something weirdly attractive about the idea that somebody thinks they're better than everybody else. That's a very like unintuitive level of attraction.
So be a D-bag. Got it.
Yeah, that's
you checked that off a long time ago, Joel.
Biggest takeaway we have from this whole discussion is, so we have to be jerks.
You checked that off 98.
Well, I know that I've read studies about that before too, about why women are attracted to the bad boys, because I think I think you're right. There's that sense of it's not usually, it's the complete opposite of what women are told to be. You know, as young girls, you know, you're supposed to be polite and reserved, and then you have this, you know, complete opposite persona that is kind of countering that, and there's something appealing to that. But I also just makes me wonder, like, I wonder if you're just attracted to that because it's your only other option. Like, you don't have.
You mean because there's just so many of them?
Well, like, in terms of just guys in general, not necessarily the D-bags, just like as far as like we only have two sexes. So, and this is all you get. Kind of sucks. Kind of sucks for you ladies.
I don't know. I've witnessed occasions where there's two, you know, potential dudes going after the same girl, and the nice guy loses. Mm-hmm. And I mean, there's a choice there, and I think, and obviously there's a lot of variables that go into that choice, but I think that there is definitely, and obviously not all women think this, but there is definitely a pull to like the bad guy versus the hoity-toity nice guy, at least in some aspects.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's really nuanced, because on the one hand you have, I mean, there's kind of like competing, there's like a matrix of priorities when you're like assessing a potential mate. And one of them is like just that sort of like evolutionary kind of animal thing of this person is like the dominant. Like like from a male-female dynamic thing, there's kind of like a, hey, like back in the day when, you know, you have like barbarian tribes roving the earth, like the degree to which you get along with someone is sort of like submissive to the degree to which someone can make sure you don't end up dead in the next month or so. So like
Right.
There's like a level of like, hey, this guy is a grade A jerk, so that means he can like kind of protect the territory. Nobody's gonna like, you know, violate the boundaries of our space and our safety. So there's something kind of really primal about that. But I think that very fortunately for the modern person, there's a lot more of a question of what it means to really be cherished by someone. And that's a very different set of qualities that you look for in another person, that they could actually come to know you and value you and cherish you and sacrifice for you. And that's not like an animal primal thing. That's very much a matter of like, I'm willing to kind of lay down my life, lay down my comfort for you. And that's very counterintuitive to the like the survivalist set of standards.
Right. I mean, do you think then that there, you know, if we were to do an experiment and put, you know, two guys in a room with one girl and, you know, see which, you know, guy the girl walks out with, you know, do you think, like you said, it's kind of an instinctual, primal type, you know, mindset for the bad guy, the person who can protect you? That seems to be something that the girl might be able to see right away, kind of thing, as opposed to the nice guy, which is like all the characteristics of like cherishing and like, you know, protecting in more of like an intellectual way, spiritual way, however you want to put it. So I guess my point is, you know, if we put him in a room for 10 minutes, maybe she'll come out with the, you know, D bag. But if we put him in there for like 2 days, maybe she'll come out with the different guy.
That's a really interesting context. I think so. I think a lot of it also depends on the girl, because on the flip side, you know, women also, it turns out, can be shallow assholes. So
what?
I know it's really hard to believe, but it's true. Like all research points to yes. No, but my point is, you know, like it's a value system, I think, you know, like I think good men, you know, obviously I would say like historically good men recognize that a major part of their role is to care for the people that they have, that they're able to protect. And like the women, you know, that there is a particular sense of caring for women, because just like from a, you know, biological perspective, there's a vulnerability there that men don't have. And I think that more often, you know, generally speaking, like it's not going to be that sort of convenient stereotypical like, oh, the like super fit, super like, you know, bulky jerk guy who can like beat everyone up, and then the kind of like slighter build, like slightly more delicate but sensitive guy. You know, most men who are good men, they could also probably hold their own in a fight, or they could protect you physically if you had to be protected. But that's not going to kind of be, their value system is a reverse. They're more interested in caring, they're more interested in connection than they are in like, you know, being demonstratively masculine in a stereotypical way.
See, I found that a long time ago. That's why I just stopped working out.
Exactly.
Cody, a penny for your thoughts, Cody?
Huh?
A penny for your thoughts?
About what? About women and men?
Do you agree with Maureen, or do you
Cody
think
was
she's dead
not
wrong?
listening.
Yeah, I agree. I would say another big difference also is shoulder size. Men have typically bigger, broader shoulders than women.
This is also true.
This is
That's
based
good.
on fact.
That's good, Cody.
I Googled it.
Maureen,
Nice.
would you agree with the statement? I might butcher this because my girlfriend said this to me last night. We had dinner and we had a discussion about it, and I was like, I don't know if I agree with this statement.
She said this to you last night and you already forgot it.
I don't pay attention half the time. No, she said, again, I might butcher this. It was,
I want to break up with you.
yeah.
Joel.
This is an emotional moment for me. No, we were talking about the appearance of men and women, about how much, because obviously guys are a lot more visual. Women tend to be a lot more on the emotional side of things in terms of attraction. And she said that she had told other guys this, that women put too much emphasis on makeup and men actually don't care. They care more about makeup than they lead on. And I was like, I don't know if I agree with that. We had a long discussion with that. And
in the sense, okay, go ahead.
I think I butchered the first part, but anyway, yeah, it's basically like, obviously women wear a lot of makeup. They're very visual. They do their hair, they get dressed up, and Joel and I have always talked about how women put on way too much makeup sometimes, and it's just like less is more in a lot of ways. And I agree that men definitely appreciate makeup. There's no denying that. Like, a woman definitely looks different without makeup on. I've seen women without the makeup on, but they still look good. But I think the level to the degree of how much they actually do
but
put
barely
on
look
is
good.
They look terrible. Let's just be honest about this.
So many things.
Now, do you think that it's true that women put too much emphasis on it, but men actually care about it more than they lead on? Do you agree with that statement?
Yes. Generally, yes. I agree that men, there's kind of a like a trope, if you will, that like natural looks or like low maintenance is attractive. When in fact, I think that I think it's a matter of standards, where like guys, when they think like, I don't really need you to wear a lot of makeup. I don't need you to kind of go all out and to be attractive. I find you attractive, just the way you are. They're kind of picturing the like the fresh face, like natural look of what the media portrays as being like no makeup or like kind of like barefaced, which is actually probably more makeup than like any woman wears every day. So when a woman hears a man say that, they're like, yeah, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, you don't know what naked face is. So
Hashtag naked face.
I think there's, yeah, I think there's a lot of like, I think there's a kind of a lot of different standards for what it means to have no makeup on. For a man, I think, from the media perspective, the kind of like girl next door, no makeup, white t-shirt, like ponytail look is actually extremely contrived and takes a lot of like lighting and makeup and like contouring and all kinds of effort. So when a woman hears that, she's like, yeah, okay, so wear more makeup is what I'm getting from this conversation.
Yeah, I the part that I don't agree with is that I do agree with the premise that men do notice makeup, and I think they do like it when a woman looks visually, appealing, and she's kind of done herself up a little bit. But it's the degree of how much she actually has put into it. And maybe this is a case by case basis, but I don't agree with the statement that men care about it a lot. I don't think they do.
Yeah, I mean, I okay. The other side of this is, again, I think that so this kind of goes to like the perception that the media, the way that the media influences our perceptions.
Right.
So I think that, if you see like a picture, like let's take like, this is my favorite because I recently saw her in a TV series and I didn't even recognize her. Jennifer Love Hewitt. Do we remember Jennifer Love Hewitt?
Oh yes, we do.
Like she was like the hottest. She was so hot, when she was like the it girl, and she was like a Neutrogena model, and she was just like like clear skin and like super like fresh faced, kind of like simple, no makeup, whatever model. But as a woman, if you see that, you're like, no, legitimately, she spent easily like 45 minutes getting ready in the morning. Like,
right.
In fact, it might take a little longer to do your makeup to look so natural than it takes to do like really like full face intense makeup. It's easier to do like more dramatic makeup than it is to do more natural looking makeup. So the way that the media influences how, like, what men consider to be like natural looking makeup versus how women view natural looking makeup it has a big impact. So that's one thing. The other thing is, I think on the flip side, for women looked at like the Neutrogena ads and they're like, all men expect me to look like Jennifer Love Hewitt, and like no one's going to find me attractive if I don't look like that. And that's a bunch of bullshit as well. Like most men are going to be like, no, that's not really, I mean, yes, Jennifer Love Hewitt is attractive. I'm not going to lie about it, but you also are attractive, and there's not really like a direct comparison that I'm doing in my mind between you and her. That's not really what I'm doing actively. Mm-hmm. I think that, that is not 100% true across the board, of course, but I think that like for most men who have real interactions and real interests and real women in their lives that they actively see, and they see in all sorts of like moments of their life, makeup, no makeup, like post-workout, which is when I look my best, if I'm honest. If you really like red face.
Cody knows what that's like.
Yeah, I know what red face is all about.
Yeah. Well, you're not alone. You're not alone in that, Cody.
I know.
It's a good look.
I'm like a tomato.
It's ripe as hell.
Oh my gosh.
I kind of agree. I see your point, Maureen, and I agree with a lot of it. I think, and I'll just, right out of the gate, I know nothing about makeup. I've come to learn that I know absolutely nothing. I've been in many makeup stores and thinking like, oh, I know my way around this. And I'm like, I don't know. My wife picked something up and it's like, I don't know what the heck that does. Never seen it before in my life. But when you said, it's like, when somebody's wearing, when it appears that somebody is not wearing a lot of makeup, that's when it's like most attractive. So I think that's what like confuses a lot of guys, because it's like, oh, yes, I guess there's like some element of like, oh, she's not trying, so that's like even more attractive. But I think it does all kind of stem back to that natural look, as opposed to, I've been, at a restaurant or something, and the waiter comes up and it's like, it looks like her face fell on a cake or something. It's like, so just like her face is plastered with makeup. Then it's like, okay, I don't understand that. And I don't understand like why she thinks guys like that kind of thing. And that's like where the confusion comes in, because then it's like the stereotypical, like, why do girls like makeup so much? So I kind of understand what you're saying, but at the same time, like, I don't know. I don't know how long it does take for like a girl to make herself look natural compared to it's obvious that you're wearing makeup. But if you're saying it takes a long time, then it takes a long time. Then I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I have no idea.
Well, I mean, it's funny because I think that like, oh man, I feel like it's just like such an educational opportunity that I have.
Enlighten us, please.
Let's talk makeup, guys. No, my point is,
yeah.
There's a couple things. One is that like the natural look has kind of, so firstly, I think that it is very true that most men find more natural looking beauty more attractive than more artificial looking beauty. And I think there's a few reasons for that. One is like, if you look naturally beautiful, there's something almost more valuable, like more beautiful about the fact that you're attractive without trying, like you said, Joel, than if you look like, if under the wrong light, or like, tomorrow morning, you're going to look like a totally different person than you do right now. And I don't trust, like, I can't really feel like I know what you actually look like because there's so much going on. So there's something immediately kind of more attractive about the woman who looks like that's just her face. Like, she just has a beautiful face and she's not like trying to look beautiful. But the other part about that I think is interesting and important is that I think it says something about the reality of the fact that like this kind of external standard of beauty is sort of inorganic. It's like most people will never meet somebody who is like, it is legitimately their job to be physically attractive. Most people will meet real people who, like, you know, are a little bit like low on sleep some days, or like aren't having a great like hair day, and et cetera, et cetera. And, you know, we're wired to be attracted to the people that we know, like that we see. And so it's kind of a weird, like there's like a superimposed influence, the fact that we have like magazines and movies and like all these posters and everyone that can be airbrushed and everyone that can like look perfect all the time. That's sort of a weird external influence on our natural like settings for what's attractive and what's not. But it's interesting that regardless of that, you know, there's a trend toward like the more natural looking beauty is the most attractive kind of beauty.
So you think that if I could take apart what you're saying here, do you think that, or what you're saying is that people are more forgiving of people's looks than the media would have us believe? Is that kind of what we're...
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I mean...
So then how would you...
Let's all hope.
How would you counter this? Again, this is not the case for every single couple out there, but would you agree that most couples have a same level of like attractiveness to their partner? Because you hardly ever see the really smoking hot.
Wow.
Smoking
I want to see a smoked hawk.
Sounds illegal.
We'll get one on. That'll be our next guest, the smoked hawk. No, a smoking hot girl with like the nerdy guy. Like those two, you never see those things. In fact, I think they do parodies of couples like that. So doesn't that kind of like contradict your statement a little bit about people being forgiving? I think people kind of tend to go with like, no, I find you attractive and usually on the same level. I don't know if that's an evolutionary biological thing. Like, how would that... I don't know what that was.
Firstly... No, I don't entirely disagree with you, but I think a lot of that is more like a social pressure than anything. I think that, like,
Probably
for
true.
example, you have like, you know, like if you have like the smoke hawking or the smoking hot, depending on, you know, what dialect you're speaking, girl, it's going to be the rare occasion that a guy, like there's this whole like out of your league sense. So like that girl is most likely to be pursued by guys who think that they are like equally attractive. And so, you know, it may be that there's like a multitude of guys who are not quote unquote conventionally as attractive as she is, but who she might have been attracted to if they had pursued her. And then there's the reverse, right? It's not like, oh, like all hot women are like super deep, and if the right guy had just made the move, you know, that's not, I mean, there's the reverse psychology as well, which is like, you're super hot, you deserve someone who's super hot, and to the degree that you're willing to settle for like someone who's a little more shallow or someone who's not even as compatible with you, because there's like a level of, you know, visual appeal that you have as a couple. So I think there's a lot that goes into that phenomena of attractive people date attractive people, and like there's like a kind of, so I think there's a lot there besides the fact that there's like an evolutionary drive towards somebody who's like equally attractive. I think it's more kind of social. Like if all of us were blind, I think there'd be a lot more diversity in couples, because it would just not matter.
Right.
And so I think that if you're talking about just like natural personal connection versus like all the varieties of forces that come together to encourage or discourage connecting with somebody, you'd see a lot more diversity in couples than you do.
Yeah. So my question is, how did Cody get a girlfriend?
A lot of money.
Anybody know?
A lot of money. Speaking of money, Maureen, can you help solve this thing that guys just are so frustrated by? Why do women just want to shop and buy all the things constantly? Like, I don't understand, because when I go to Target, I just want to get what I want to get, and I'm out of there. I have an objective. Like, I'm getting that item, and I'm out of this place. But women, not all women, of course, most women, I'd say, They go in and it's
Man.
browsing time. It's in there. What can we buy
Down
today?
every aisle.
Yeah.
Slowly
Might buy
walking.
this, might buy that. And I'm like, why? Why? It's a waste of time. Why do you need these things? Why is that? I'm not saying you are that way. I don't even know if you are that way, Maureen. I don't think I wouldn't consider you a buyer. I don't think I've seen you buy.
Oh, I'm a total buyer.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then I don't know.
She
you
just
that
does her
well.
shopping online.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's funny because like I wouldn't have considered myself a buyer, and then I got married, and now I'm like, I'm a buyer, and he's like this minimalist. Like, oh, we can use like the nail clipper to cut that, you know? And I'm like, no, scissors are needed. You know? But no, that's an interesting question. Firstly, so I strongly believe that there are like masculine vices and masculine virtues and feminine vices and feminine virtues. And like, obviously nothing is as simple as that. But if you wanted to like boil things down, you could identify virtues and vices that are generally speaking attributable to women and virtues and vices that are generally speaking attributable to men.
Yeah.
Materialism, I think, is generally attributable to women. Mm-hmm. And I think there's a few reasons for that, some of which I think are very like inherent in the human, like, again, going back to this kind of like primal thing of like like possessions and what it meant to like have things beyond what was necessary. Mm-hmm. And that there was like a level of status and a level of sense of like comfort, luxury, you know, all those things that came along with just having excess. And I will tell you, for me, excess is mugs. I don't know why. I need all the mugs. Like every mug, I'm like, ooh, I like that mug.
Second
and then I'm
apartment
like,
for mugs.
hashtag basic, but I love mugs. I do. I don't buy all of them, but I want to. It's a deep internal struggle. So I do think that like that is generally speaking a more female thing. However, there is something else to that I think, you know, men sort of devalue, like, devalue is maybe heavy, but undervalue. And that's the desire to like create a space that is welcoming, that is comfortable, and for others. You know, it's not always about like women like to host, they like to nest, if you want to get like really evolutionary about it. And they like to create like a home space that has an atmosphere of like of safety, comfort, welcome, abundance, you know, like the sense that, oh, like we have plenty, take some of ours, we have more of that, like please have more. There's like a generosity of spirit that's there that I think that, you know, men are, for better or worse, very interested in like meeting the needs, right? So if the needs start to grow, it becomes like anxiety that I have to like meet your needs and then like your friend's needs and then your family's needs and my family's needs and everyone's needs, and all of a sudden like I'm just meeting all the needs, and like why do we need all of these things? We don't need all of these things. We need one thing. It's nail clippers. We can cut everything with nail clippers.
She's getting it all out, guys. She's getting it all out.
David's
She's unraveling.
But no, my point is like there's kind of like competing virtues there in a way, like where men feel very much the desire to provide and women feel very much the desire to share. And so it like starts to expand beyond what's like reasonable sometimes. And so that I think creates friction where it's like, I just want to have like, I just need more mugs because what if people need more coffee? But you know, like those things where it's like, I just want the home to be comfortable. I want it to be pleasant to be there. I want it to be like to create an atmosphere.
Right.
And you're like, I just want to have a plate to eat on and like a place to be that's, I don't need an atmosphere. I just need what I need. So yeah, I think that's my answer. Target is like the battle of the sexes, like the prime ground for battle of the sexes, because there's so many atmospheres, things at Target, and there's what's it called? Like Fixer Upper. I mean, Fixer Upper came to Target, and it like a million divorces happened that day.
I was going to say the same thing about IKEA. I've seen, myself included, I've seen so many couples get in arguments in IKEA just walking down the aisles being like, no, we don't need that. We already have that in a different color.
I don't.
It's the same thing.
You're not wrong.
I don't get it. I know, Cody, I can imagine you're usually pretty good with money, and I'm sure this is just something you scratch your head and just go, why? I don't understand this at all.
Yeah, it baffles me. I don't get it.
Cody, I want to know. I want to know: is there anything that you ever bought that was like extravagant for you that you didn't need? Was just like an item?
Yeah. A couple months ago, I bought sunglasses that I didn't need to buy. Such a designer brand, but I did it anyway.
Why? Why did you do it?
I don't know. I wanted to look good.
Cody, you're out of control. We need to freeze your bank account.
Don't. Dude, I need that.
You need to cut back.
An intervention.
I need the bank account, Joel.
Well, I think that I mean, like getting stuff like on an occasion, like one or two like splurge items, I think that's totally okay. It's fine. I mean, you only live once, right? Just need to enjoy life a little bit here and there. But it's like every other week or something like that when you're just like, I bought all this random stuff. I'm like, what for? Like, what is this? Like, we do not need this whatsoever.
Yeah.
And then they wonder why you can't like take vacations or why like there's no money in the bank account. Like, it's because you keep spending it on mugs. You keep buying all these mugs.
Firstly, like I said, I don't buy the mugs. I just think about them all the time.
Yeah, it's the frequency at which you are spending is where the problem is, and if you can't control yourself. But every once in a while, it's not going to kill you, unless you already don't have anything. Then it doesn't matter what you do.
It might kill you.
It might kill you.
You'll starve. It will. Yeah. No, I mean, you make a good point. I do think that like. And this is, again, a very much like a generalization because so I'm speaking for myself and for some women I know, but many women that I know are very much more on board with the like, listen, you can buy the mug now or you can like go on a 2-week vacation in 3 years for like every mug that you didn't buy. So think about that.
That's a lot of mugs.
That is a lot of mugs.
I told you I like the mugs, okay? But, so yes, I think that, but from generally speaking, I think women are a little bit more aware, like conscious of the like immediate space that they occupy and the immediate atmosphere that they're in than the kind of long-term, what you are sacrificing in the future to have that experience or have that like atmosphere now. And the same goes for like things like date nights, for example, which I think are also often like a question of like, why do we have to like, do something elaborate to spend time together? Why do we have to do something expensive? Why can't we just like do something more low key and then like ultimately I'll take you to Paris or something? But there's something about the idea that like, but we're here now and this is what we have immediately. And like, this is what I'm most conscious of. And, some kind of like future potential thing is not as valuable to me now as this is. If you were to do like a side-by-side comparison of like return on investment, you could probably demonstrate why going to Paris is better than going out to eat once a week for 6 years. But then you also lose that shared experience. So there is something to be said for where do your values lie? Do you want to have something more elaborate at a later time, or do you want to have something smaller that's more immediate? And like that, I mean, that's kind of a constant balance for the human person. I'm totally defending women. I'm defending myself. I'm defending myself.
No, I think that's true though. I think everybody has their own priorities and fixates on what they enjoy out of life. If people like my parents, for example, like I think it would hurt them more than anything if I told them, okay, you guys can't go out to eat anymore. Like that would just ruin their lives. Like that's their happy place, is going out to like a restaurant, no matter what the restaurant is. But then there's other people that would but there's other people that would put more value in, like you said, going to Paris or wherever. So you need to kind of establish those priorities and kind of hone yourself in to make sure you meet those priorities. But on a side note, I feel like if we came over to your house, Maureen, it would be like that scene in The Shining where we would just find like a stack of papers, and it would just be like we're like going through them, and it's just pictures of mugs after mugs.
Have you been to my house?
Yeah, all different shapes and sizes.
Like you've been to my house. All of a sudden, I feel like you say you haven't, but you have.
You haven't moved the camera, so I'm assuming it's on all sides of you, just mugs surrounding.
There's like a very narrow path between me and like the very important places in the house, but everything else is just stacks of mugs. Yeah,
stacks of mugs and weird gothic candles.
You said you haven't been to my house.
Things took a dark turn here. How do we get out? No, but thank you, Maureen, for jumping on our old podcast here. We appreciate you coming out here and educating us. It was actually a really interesting conversation. I think it was one of the more insightful conversations we've had on this show so far.
Well, anytime.
Okay. You seem upset now. Are you okay?
No, I'm just wondering how I'm going to get to my room through all the mugs.
Mug withdrawal.
Exactly.
I really have to go.
Withdrawal. All right. Well, thank you everybody out there for listening and watching on YouTube. If you are there, subscribe to our channel. You can also check us out on SoundCloud and iTunes, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. All the fun pages, all the places you go to on the internet anyway. So you just check us out there. But until then, we are That Cousin Show, and we'll see you guys next week.
Yay!
Bye.